Hey everyone, this is Joe with Hats Off Entertainment. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode of Almost Cult Classics, the podcast. Going forward, I will be posting all episodes of the podcast on YouTube on a separate YouTube channel for better organization. I've linked that channel in the description below, so if you're enjoying listening to this podcast on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe there for all future content related just to the podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy.
As always, I am sitting here with Mr. Ryan Lancello.
Howdy, Pilgrims.
There's another voice.
Oh, they love the silly openings.
Yes, it's our thing.
Sure.
We are here today to talk about 1991's Nothing But Trouble. I think we both watched it last night, separately, of course.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time you've seen it?
I never saw it all the way through. It was one of those, once again, it was one of those movies you'd catch just on TV, and I'd be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And a commercial would come on, and I'd go do something else or something. I'd never watched it all the way through. It was the first time.
You hammer at me for fast-forwarding through films, yet it seems most of the films from your childhood were experienced on Comedy Central in parts when in between meals.
Very true. This is very true. Yeah, I mean, well, I didn't have like premium cable or anything. I didn't have movie channels. And as my father will attest, generally, I was constantly re-renting Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, so...
Hey, at least it was going to a good cause.
I thought so.
Yeah. I think same studio, though, Warner Brothers, responsible for Willy Wonka and Nothing But Trouble. So what'd you think? It's your first time seeing it all the way through.
So once again, this is another movie that has a reputation as being like one of the all-time biggest pieces of shit, like unwatchable garbage.
Yeah.
Is it just time changes things? Because I'm like, this movie's pretty good. Like, it's not great, it's a masterpiece, but...
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with this movie.
I enjoyed it.
I never had, a hatred of it. I saw it all the way through years ago. I kind of liked it, actually. I was a kid. It was dark. And when I did my John Candy video, I excluded it for the sole purpose of I knew I'd want to dedicate more time to talking about it at a later date, whether it was a video or this. And there were so many comments, and half were people who were saying, why didn't you mention Nothing But Trouble? And the other half were, oh, thank God you didn't mention Nothing But Trouble. So people were very divided on this movie.
Well, that's the other thing. I think a lot of people are going to hammer us over this one. I think you can make a case that this is a cult classic.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, personally, because I don't think it has fans. Like, it has some fans, but there's no, like, great, huge, like, the fan club of Nothing But Trouble. But yeah, I think people are going to be like, no, this is a cult classic. But
yeah, well, I mean, I think when we get that comment a lot for pretty much everything I've done on the channel, every the podcast episode we've done, and when I think almost cult classic for me, it just always meant this is a movie that could have had a bigger following.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
And this is one of those movies that could have had a bigger following. There's a couple things, I think it does that are off, but other than that, I mean, it has all the makings to be a cult classic. So yeah, let's get into a little bit about the backstory of this movie. Obviously, written, story, and starring and directed by Dan Aykroyd in his first and only directorial effort.
I think that's the biggest bummer.
That it's his only one?
Yeah, I mean, you just imagine, you pour your heart and soul into doing a movie.
Yeah.
And it's people, they don't just go, they go, this is unwatchable.
Yeah.
And he never directed again. And I would have loved to have seen him direct another movie.
Well, Dan Aykroyd is pretty notorious for turning in scripts for movies that are either crazy or, I think both John Landis and Ivan Reitman with Ghostbusters and Blues Brothers said that Dan's original screenplay was like a couple hundred pages, and it took them to pull out the ideas that are kind of worth honing in on. And with this, I don't know if that was the case because, I think that was the thing. It was just he ran away with his own idea and didn't have those people to hone him in. And I was reading that, there are a couple sources that say he had to direct it because everyone else refused. And while that's true, it seemed like he also just really wanted to get this movie greenlit and wanted to direct his own idea. And he jumped at the opportunity to do that.
Right. And I look, honestly, I thought he did a good job. It's visually, the movie's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's super inventive. It's just, there's a lot to take in. There's a little, That's the thing. I think people got thrown off because they look at the cast and they think, oh, this is going to be just a straight out comedy.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I chuckled a few times, but I wasn't laugh out loud, but I was still interested. And not only that, it's horrific.
Yeah.
So he says that they wanted to do a horror comedy.
Yeah.
But it just.
Yeah, it seems like they wanted to do a horror comedy, but they kind of had a foot in each door, and they weren't sure which one to fully go with. And
Perhaps.
Also, it's rumored that this was recut, and that there was a lot more kind of horrific stuff in it. So who's to say? Who knows?
I would have loved a darker version of this.
Yeah. Well, it's there in a lot of scenes.
It's a pretty fucking dark movie.
Yeah.
It's
that scene in the attic when they find all the. We'll get to that later.
Yeah,
but like, there's moments like that where you're like, oh, this is like a legit horror film.
The movie actually did give me one legit scare, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
I was surprised. Like I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Like it gave me a little spook. I was very surprised, but I could see as a kid too, very OCD child. This movie would have drove me nuts because of the clutter.
Oh yeah, it's like Hoarders.
There's so much. It's suffocating almost as to a certain person.
Well, production design is William Sandell, who, upon going into this, was coming off of Total Recall.
Okay.
He'd also done RoboCop, and after this, he did the Flintstones. So he's kind of known for building immersive worlds in his films, and that's the thing about this movie is that Dan Aykroyd assembles a lot of the best in the business to help him in this. Makeup is, I have his name, David Miller, who does Freddy on Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
So, again, he's assembling people that are pretty much the best at doing this. And, I mean, the cast, some of them are in a weird place. You have Chevy Chase, who was kind of dwindling out of his career as a leading man. Because in 89, you have Christmas Vacation and Fletch Lives.
Okay.
And this is 91. And this is pre-Memoirs of an Invisible Man, which I haven't seen in a long time, but I feel like that might work for the series too at some point.
Yeah, perhaps. I've seen a minute of that movie.
Yeah.
I never really saw it.
And then obviously in 93, you have the Chevy Chase show, and his career kind of peters after that.
Chevy Chase is an odd creature. I mean, he's just... he's a total stiff.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to have much discernible talent. He's not very funny, and everyone hates him.
Yeah.
So obviously I relate to that very much, but it's very strange to think that he's had such an enduring career. I got to give him credit because I don't get it.
Well, I think he's at a point now in his life where that backfired. He's not doing work. He's not doing anything. There was an article that came out a few months ago. It was like, Chevy Chase is ready to work, but no one wants to work with him because the reputation. And, I fall on the side. I do love him. I do love him in movies like Three Amigos, the Vacation series, at least two of those films. And yeah, I mean, Fletch, some of his early work I really, really like, but like in this, he's definitely unlikable.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously I was being hyperbolic. Chevy Chase has been funny and good and stuff. I mean, come on. No.
Yeah.
No. It's great. I love. I mean, Caddyshack's one of the best though. I could go on for that forever. But I've never seen the Fletches.
They're good.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, and he gives a shit in them.
He does. You know what it is? He doesn't have much to do in this movie beyond whoa, like what's happening here.
He's very, very, very like catchphrase and sarcastic. Like almost everything he says, is a sarcastic comment, and it's just.
What's funny? One of them got a laugh out of me, but it wasn't from him. It was from the female Brazilian sister. I forget her name, but
Ronaldo.
As they're pulling up to the Valkenvania courthouse and school, he goes. They see like some dolphin heads.
Oh, this is what he says is like, so bad.
Oh, that's where they buried Flipper.
Yeah,
and the dude, or maybe it's both the Brazilians. They go, Flipper's dead.
Yeah,
like it's great.
So.
But yeah, you're right. And in the beginning of this movie, he is quip.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's not just in the beginning.
Mr. Quippy.
And then we have Demi Moore. Is that how you say it? Is it Demi or Demi?
Dude, this is like a question as old as time. I don't even bother looking it up or anything. I like to say Demi.
I think it's Demi.
But on weekends, I'll say Demi.
Okay.
Yeah, mix it up.
Being that it's a weekday, though, we're going to say...
what are you saying, Demi?
Demi, I think we're going to go with.
It's like sometimes I do my fours differently. You know what I mean? Sometimes you do the four.
Oh, you draw them. I thought you would say them. I was like, how the hell do you say four? Two different ways.
Quattro.
Yeah. So she's coming off of Ghost, I believe. I think that's predates this a little bit. So she's huge. And then you have Dan Aykroyd. Obviously, he's coming off of just getting nominated for Driving Miss Daisy. For supporting actor.
I've never seen that movie, but I was reading about this, and like apparently he was really good in it. So I kind of want to watch it now.
Earned an Oscar nomination, and not only that, I mean, he's coming off writing Ghostbusters. I guess Ghostbusters 2 didn't do that well, but I mean, he wrote that and the Blues Brothers. Like he's a guy that the studio probably had no problem trusting with this film.
More than likely.
And then you have John Candy. Obviously, I'm a huge John Candy fan, and I will say this about him in this movie: he very, very rarely if ever phones a performance in, and he definitely doesn't here. I think he takes both these roles to heart. I think he's just having fun with them, even though he knows what he's in. That seems to be his logic with everything. He would just kind of, go all in. And the fact that he's playing these two roles, and the one version of him that's actually really likable. I think Dennis is the only likable character in this film.
I loved him as Dennis.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was just like, because you're used to, you get an image of your head, especially of comedic actors, as like, really over the top or whatever. But
yeah.
I was like, damn, I would have loved to have seen more John Candy and like kind of like man in a rock, between a rock and a hard place. He was just like, shit, I don't want to do this. Like, I loved him as Dennis.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great.
Yeah, and he, strangely enough, gets the least amount of screen time of the characters, and it's tragic because then the most of the movie he's in the dress and he's just kind of humming, and he's still good. Don't get me wrong, but Dennis is a character I wish would have been in the film more because he kind of ultimately saves the two Brazilians, and I don't know. There's a lot more depth to that character. I feel like some stuff might have gotten cut because then they just surface at the end, and
yeah, they do kind of like he was like, "I'll go hide over here behind this car." When he kind of saves them, and then they're out of the movie.
Out of the movie
until like the end,
to the last scene.
That was a bit of a missed opportunity. I got to say this though, because John Candy, it is a shame because you wish you would have got more roles out of him. But I know you had brought this up at one point, but he's like excellent in Oliver Stone's JFK.
Yeah,
it's a real small role, but I'm like, damn, I would have liked to see more Candy like that, and he nails that. Because they're all real people.
Yeah.
And if you look
Dean Andrews, I think.
Yeah, dude, he plays Dean Andrews.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Yeah, very good.
That was the guy.
Just like real sweaty and like, yeah.
Yep. Cigar out of the side of the mouth, little Bayou accent. It's good shit.
Yeah, I mean, so Chevy Chase and John Candy, obviously both friends of Dan Aykroyd, apparently sign on without ever reading a script. I mean, this is common knowledge at this point, but John Candy famously turns down Lois Tully in Ghostbusters, didn't see eye to eye with Ivan Reitman on a lot of the script, and
Tully was what?
That's Rick Moranis' part.
Okay, right,
so turns that down, watches that movie become a huge hit. So when Aykroyd comes knocking again and says, I got this, weird script, do you want to be in it? I'm sure Candy jumps to the opportunity.
Sure. Two roles,
it'll be fun. And yeah, Chevy Chase, same thing. Spies Like Us, him and Aykroyd had done together. And yeah, I think they just jumped at the opportunity. And,
wouldn't you?
Honestly,
your buddy's with Dan Aykroyd. He's like, hey, they're letting me direct the movie. Like, put me in it.
Yeah, if it's the 1990s Dan Aykroyd.
Oh my God, put me in it.
Even if I read the script, I'm sorry. I think
I would just do it.
I love Dan Aykroyd. I think he's one of the, a really great character actor. I think he's a great starring actor too, a great comedy actor. He's my favorite Ghostbusters of the Ghostbusters by far. And in this, like you said, I wish this movie did better because you can tell he's having fun. He's one of the few of them that's just all out having fun.
He's really good in it.
Yeah.
Like it's total commitment to the role. He never backs off it. He goes full bore the whole time. And honestly, the movie's worth watching for him.
Yeah.
It's funny. And I don't know, man. I guess I'll take this moment to completely shit on every critic. I went back on stupid Rotten Tomatoes, which is almost a useless website anymore.
Especially for movies of this age.
Well, yeah, because you go back and it's almost like a little capsule reviews.
Yeah.
Like, you used to see it in like the Enquirer where it was like, a paragraph.
Sure.
But and this is before the internet. So like now when a movie comes out, it seems like all the critics and whoever can just coordinate and just get out the same line. Like you'll notice the same line in reviews. Like nothing but trouble. You got that right. Like they'll all say that shit. They're all doing it in 91. And all their gripes are like, the movie's just too grotesque. Well, what did you like? You're projecting what you want onto a movie that was trying to look grotesque. Like, how about go like, wow, man, it was like really, it was a little too much for me, but you got to give him credit because that design was the design.
The design's incredible.
It's so, like I said, it's inventive, it's interesting, and they explain it too. It's kind of funny. It's real quick, but he has an engineering degree from some farm university, so it explains why all this crazy shit has been built. and Aldona, master mechanic. So it kind of explains how it's like there was everyone just totally wrote this movie off, and you can tell it was everyone wanted to have a hit at the piñata of Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Let's take him down a peg.
Yeah.
It's fucked up because the movie is in no way as bad as people say it is.
No, not at all. And it's weird that we I mean, this is like, we keep hitting these movies that have incredible set design, incredible world building. And this might, I mean, with no disregard to, what Altman did in Malta for Popeye and what happened with Super Mario Brothers, but this mansion set in this movie is really incredible.
I thought it was great.
I mean, the toasters they have outside, that's real. Like, everything is, there's some matte painting stuff, obviously, but for the most part.
Which I thought looked cool. I love matte painting, though.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm going to just throw this out there. This is stuff that probably should be discussed off there, but I'm thinking, you ever see Dick Tracy?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Me too, a long time ago.
Yeah, that might be a good one.
I was looking at clips from that. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's all that old style matte painting. It's like beautiful to look at.
The colors are great.
Unbelievable. But, I digress. But, yeah, man, I don't know. It's another thing I'll bemoan is the age of CGI. We've lost matte painting. Yeah. We've lost, real set building, I feel like, because, hey, fuck it. I'll just put it in post.
Yeah. I heard what they did here was they found, some old junkyard. A guy had a farm with all this stuff on it. And, they were just like, we'll buy it. And they shipped it all up and dismantled it there. And so they lucked out. I mean, they really, really great set design as far as this mansion goes and the grounds of it.
I mean, you get it, though. It looks like I buy it. I buy the Hamlet of Valkenvania. And not only that, it's somewhat what inspired it is kind of close to where we are geographically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Centralia.
Yeah, I had a couple buddies go up there once. They said it was kind of boring. But I looked it up. As far as the last census, or maybe a year or two ago, there are 10 people
still living
in the town of
And for
Centralia.
those who don't know, Centralia is an old Pennsylvania coal town where there's been for decades now a coal fire underneath, down in the mine. So there's smoke coming up from the streets. And
a lot of the roads are split and stuff.
And a few residents have refused to ever move. So they can't really ever do anything about it.
They're there, yeah. I mean, 10 people.
Yeah. So Centralia, again, Valkenvania, this is based on an experience that happened to Dan Aykroyd. He got pulled over in 1978. He used to commute from Canada to SNL. And while he was doing this, that's happened. He got pulled over late at night for speeding and was taken to the local justice of the peace instead of getting a ticket on the spot. And he kind of put that idea away for years and then, turned it into this. And yeah, I mean, he does have free reign. Warner Brothers at the time was distracted by the bonfire of the Vanities.
Yeah.
So they just really weren't checking in. And this movie went quickly over budget. But they were so distracted by this. I think did we talk about it? Maybe off the air we talked about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's if anyone's interested, we're going to start doing extra content on our Patreon. And I think that's one of the things we were getting into was Bonfire of the Vanities. Yeah. Insane production stories. We could do a whole 2 hours on that one. But I'm a huge fan of the book. I didn't like the movie, but I'm glad it was made. So this got
happened,
made.
Yeah. Yeah, and this went through a couple titles. It was originally called Git, which I don't quite understand.
Git,
as
in GIT.
GIT was the first screenplay title.
It had to just been a placeholder acronym or something.
And then it goes to Road to Ruin. And then the shooting title was Valkenvania. So I think Valkenvania is a much better title than Nothing But Trouble. I don't know if you like Nothing But Trouble.
Nothing But Trouble. I mean, it's obviously a little bland.
Yeah.
But Valkenvania, that would be a tough sell.
It would at least represent. I don't know. I think it would. But better.
You'd have to explain what the hell is Valkenvania. It looks a little weird. I think go for it.
Well, so Nothing But Trouble. Maybe this is why I don't like it. It's like the name of a 1945 Laurel and Hardy movie, one of their last films. And it's just for me, it was always just kind of, I associate it with that.
It's a very bland title. Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, for what the movie is, it's very bland. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Demi Moore's character says it at one point.
Does she say nothing?
She says Nothing But Trouble. That scene when they're in the bedroom and she's like,
cue Leo DiCaprio gif from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood of me snapping and pointing at the screen. She said the title.
I never noticed that, but it's when she kisses Chevy Chase the first time they kiss in the room they're staying in, and she's goes to the bed. She goes, "Oh, you're nothing but trouble." And I was like, ugh. Is that why the studio executives landed on that?
Some coked up studio executives that's it.
That's it. That's the title. We're going with it. Yes, let's get into the plot a little bit. If you haven't seen this movie, it's basically Chevy Chase, Demi Moore, along with a couple of Brazilian neighbors, are traveling to Atlantic City from Manhattan, get pulled over by a state trooper played by John Candy, end up being taken to a local justice of the peace, who's Dan Aykroyd. And it's kind of this horrific mansion where I guess you could say nothing but trouble awaits them.
John Candy was chief constable.
The
Hamlet of Valkenvania.
Of the Hamlet of Valkenvania. Yeah, so it's... Do you find like they kind of rush into the plot of this movie?
Oh, a little bit. And here's the thing, it's funny too, because I thought Chevy Chase was going to be much more in like dickhead mode, because the movie starts with him getting out of the car and he's got the cigar and he's just like, I just have to keep doing things that make me Chevy. You know what I mean? It's like, I thought he kind of dialed it back. Maybe it's because of the situation he was in. You kind of can't be snarky when you might have to ride Mr. Bone Stripper, but yeah, it's a weird. I'm still a little bit unclear. Demi Moore was dating some guy who wanted to make a landfill, and she wanted to go confront him. That was
something. I don't know what the deal was. It's a very weird. She's like, they just meet, and she's like, "Can I borrow your car?" And then he's like, "I'll go with you."
Maybe that's a New York thing. I think it might. Maybe it is.
But she's a really successful.
No one owns a car in New York.
I guess
you don't need to.
And then we're introduced to two tenants of the building, Brazilian brother and sister, Rinaldo and Fausto, or Rinalda and Fausto, played by the late Taylor Negron and Bertilla Damas. Yeah.
And Taylor Negron, I'm pretty sure in literally every shitty sitcom I watched in the 90s, he was the sassy gay hairdresser.
Of course, yeah.
I don't think he was gay either.
No, I don't think he was either. He got
and honestly,
typecast.
The more I say it, I think it was just Step by Step. Was it Step? I
don't know.
He was the hairdresser with, I don't know.
I know him most from, ever seen Easy Money with Dangerfield? He plays the same type of character, but he plays his daughter's husband, that they're getting married. Yeah. He's really funny in that.
There were so many characters like that, character actors, where I'm just like, I can't stand this guy. And years later, I'm like, why did I like them? Like, why did I hate them so much? And it was because they're so good at playing sleazy, slimy, and he has the look, obviously.
And he was in real life a brilliant stand-up comedian. He's very known for his stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
He just kind of got, like we said, typecast into playing these goofy kind of side character roles.
And almost like ethnic. He'd have like a shitty Eurotrash accent a lot of times.
So the four of them, they head up to Atlantic City together, and they want to take a detour in Jersey, or
they want to have a picnic.
They want to have a picnic. Wherever they end up veering off, they end up in this. That's Valkenvania, the little town they end up in, which apparently was the High Noon set that they.
I could see that
they painted a yellow line down this. That's how they distinguished that it's not a Western village. They go through that. Chevy Chase's Chris character blows a stop sign, and that's when John Candy's Dennis, who is the constable, begins a pursuit, and the passengers encourage Chris to speed away for no other reason than just you can lose them. Yeah.
See, you used to be able to get away with stuff. You can't get away with anything anymore.
Well,
you used to be able to rob banks, outrun cops.
Not when you're dealing with the constable's gadgets.
Right. Yeah.
He has a bunch of
souped up
car with a jet, fire booster, and then he has a button that says detour that closes a road off. So eventually, he ends up pulling them over. Doesn't take a bribe that Chris offers him. Mm-hmm. Instead, says he has to appear before the Valkenvania Justice of the Peace, Judge J.P. Valkenheiser. Alvin's in there somewhere.
Alvin Valkenheiser.
Okay. Yeah. Who's played by Dan Aykroyd in old age makeup. Kind of good old age makeup for the time.
That was great. I don't know. Everything is convincing to me when I came to that. No issue. Especially when he takes his nose off.
Yeah.
I was impressed. I was like, damn, that looked good.
Every person in every department on this film you speak to, they loved Aykroyd because, and they would say like, what do you want? He'd be like, do it all. Go ahead. Go for it. Like he would not, whatever you want to do, whatever you think looks good. And they would just do it.
You're working on a movie. That's got to be like, you got to be like, oh my God, this is great. Like
they loved it apparently. And
apparently too, they screened it for the crew, and the crew loved the movie.
Because he used all of their ideas. And I read this too, which apparently really affected the film. First time directing, Dan Aykroyd decides to give all of the main characters their own monitor to watch their own playbacks on so they can direct themselves.
Oof.
And they said John Hughes visited the set and was like, you have to get rid of these. You can't do this
Really?
because you will have everyone directing themselves and there'll be no cohesive, performance going on. And I think that's what happens a lot with Chevy Chase is he kind of was like, I'm going to direct myself.
Right. And he's the kind of guy that would do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know what's best for Chevy
Correct.
Chase. Yeah.
Yes. And that's why I think there's so many one-liners and so many quips is because he was just like, he knew it was best for him and wanted to direct himself, and Aykroyd wasn't going to stop him.
Well, and too, I think I read like he wanted to do the movie because he was like, "Oh, I'll get to improv with Dan."
Yeah,
and I can just throw out my little lines. And Dan Aykroyd, everything. He seems like the most amenable, nice guy.
Yeah.
So he's probably just like, "Yeah, Chev, go for it." You know what I mean?
Yeah, do whatever you want. Go ahead. And yeah, I think it worked. I think again, everyone excluding Chevy Chase seems like they're having a good time.
Yeah, he rarely seems like he's having a good time.
That's
in
just
movies.
Chevy Chase.
He's having a good time when the check clears.
Yes. So, yeah, they are brought before the Valkenvania town justice of the peace, who's played by Dan Aykroyd, who thinks that Chris is a banker, even though he's a financial publisher. He makes that clear. But he hates bankers because they swindled his relatives out of some money and the land.
They gutted the town, essentially, and ruined it.
So he hits a lever. He has an amazing, again, so many gadgets. He has an amazing kind of console, and he pulls a lever, and they fall below the floor into a giant pool of like squeaky toys.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many,
and
it's like a little dungeon that they're all stuck in down there. And again, this is why I like John Candy's character, because he's like, "What did you do that for?" Like they were just.
He was like they were clean.
Yeah.
I would have loved more of Dennis in this movie.
Yeah.
That would have made it good, like him being conflicted.
Yeah.
Of like, shit, I'm in.
They kind of do that a little bit,
and then for whatever reason they back off.
Yeah.
That it could have been
meddling. And he doesn't tell the judge about them speeding away. He just tells him about the stop sign. Like,
right.
Yeah. Great guy, Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis was a good boy. He deserves his brilliant Brazilian getaway.
I love about John Candy is he never has the same hairstyle twice in the film. I think like the only films he looks exactly like in are his last two, The Canadian Bacon and Wagons East. He has the beard and the long hair, but for the most part, like I don't know if that was something he liked. It just his characters always had different hairstyles, and even in this, even as his regular when he's not Aldona, he kind of has a weird like military looking hairstyle.
God, I'm getting misty here because I'm looking at Joe always has the DVD in front of us when we do this, and I'm looking at John Candy smiling at me, and I'm like, oh man,
yeah,
John Candy, I miss John Candy.
Yeah, and he's great in this.
He would have became such a good actor.
Yeah.
I really think he would have got his shot like all the comic actors get. They get their drama shot.
Yeah.
And he would have nailed it.
Yeah, I heard someone, I don't know if it was in the comments on my John Candy video, but someone said like the closest you could picture where he would have fallen today would have been like the way people like idolize Bill Murray and Tom Hanks. Like he would have fallen above that. He would have been.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He would have been the guy that walks on the talk show that, ovation. Like he just, yeah. And I always look at, for me, like looking at roles he would have gone on to. And I'm sure there's projects that didn't happen because he wasn't alive. But to think like, oh, the projects that did happen, like where would he have fallen? Like where would he have been? And yeah, it's one of those sad what could have been. Because yeah, he died 3 years after this. So he's at the tail end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's sad. But he does act really well in this film. And yeah.
And, obviously I'll shit on all the critics. There was two things I did notice in some of the reviews that I thought were fair points. One was, when he's playing Aldona, the female character, the granddaughter of the judge.
Yeah.
And it's a funny line from Dan Aykroyd, because she doesn't talk. And he's just like, when she was born, a thunderclap came and made her deaf and mute, or deaf and dumb.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, a thunderclap just scares a kid and no more talking. But he could have done a voice. I would have liked some lines. It's an interesting thing because you get yourself in a spot, because I did a thing that I made, a little short movie, and it had a silent character.
Yeah.
And it kind of works, it kind of doesn't, because you're almost sidelining that character.
Sure.
So you better give him something to do, and he kind of does.
Yeah.
The joke is pretty one note. It's John Candy.
anytime that's anytime you get John Candy in drag, which happened a lot on SCTV, they would always find ways to throw him in drag. A couple of the movies he did it, but here there was never like a full feature film character where the whole joke essentially is it's John Candy in drag.
And it sucks because it just gets a little annoying after a while, because it's a lot of
yeah. It's all he can do.
Yeah, and it's one criticism I'll give it. He could have used some lines.
Yeah.
But that thunderclap line was good. I enjoyed it.
Before we're introduced to that character, and at the dinner scene, Dennis, John Candy's constable, pulls over a group of rowdy individuals.
They're listed as dealer, like drug dealer in the credits, but we have a Daniel Baldwin alert.
Yeah.
Rank your Baldwins.
How many are there?
We'll go with 4.
I don't know the 4. I could give you 3.
Okay, give me your 1. 1 is the best, and then go down.
It's a tough one. I guess Alec Baldwin. I know he's kind of.
You gotta go Alec.
Alec, Daniel, Steven.
You're going Danny over Steven?
Yeah.
I'm going Alec, Steven, because for Usual Suspects, he's amazing in Usual Suspects.
Okay.
And Biodome. Then I'm going Daniel Baldwin, because it's Daniel Baldwin. I don't know. Although you just watched Sopranos, he's Cleaver. He's in Cleaver.
He's in Sopranos, yeah.
So Daniel Baldwin, and then Billy Baldwin's last. Fuck Billy Baldwin.
Billy Baldwin. That's one I always forget about.
He's in a couple of Billy Baldwin. The forgotten, we'll say. Even though he's probably better looking than all of them at this point.
Well, Danny Baldwin, like you said, plays dealer number 1, but in the film, he's playing like a very like stereotypical mob kind of like Italian.
I assumed they were kind of supposed to be mobbed up.
They look a little like mob. They get same thing. They get pulled over. Danny Baldwin tries to shoot John Candy though, and John Candy pulls a machine gun on him.
It's ready to go.
Yeah,
it's so funny because he just bats the gun away.
Yeah,
at Danny
real
Baldwin.
quick, bats the gun away.
Doesn't even flinch.
Yeah, and takes them before the judge. I do love their reaction of when they see the judge. They're just laughing hysterically.
It's so funny. Yeah, it's good. And not only that, Aykroyd in the scene, the way he's nonchalantly rattling off their crimes as he's getting ready to like drop them through. The performance is really good.
Yeah. I read that he has police badges on his desk. Mm-hmm. That was from Dan Aykroyd's personal collection.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Dan Aykroyd loves that weird shit, and I think he brought a lot of that to the performance. But yeah, he senses them in a very quick, very fun dialogue, pulls another lever on the desk, and they fall into roller coaster carts on a little roller coaster called the Bone Stripper.
Mr. Bone Stripper.
Mr. Bone Stripper, which, again, if you read up on this movie, another one of those ideas someone had, and he was like, do it. Yeah, let's build a roller coaster.
Sure.
And very intricate, like, backyard set, and it takes these drug dealers and it flings them into the teeth of, it looks like metal cans or something that are chomping down, and then their bones just fly out of the machine. So it literally strips their bones.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know about, I till I did research on this, but it's always alluded to that the hot dogs they eat in the next scene at dinner are the flesh from.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Why did I put two and two together?
Because they look pretty damn gross.
Yeah, they look. It's the flesh.
It's the flesh.
Well, he does say he's like that's prime heifer. But yeah, now that I think about it, it's probably the meat. Human meat.
And there could have been a deleted scene. Who knows? For all Aykroyd goes, there could have been a.
This DVD, like you said, it has nothing on it.
Has no bonus features.
And there's never been another edition.
And there's never been another edition. It's out there. I hope it gets released.
A funny foursome and a laugh-filled lark. That's what they put on the back of this.
Yeah, that's how they marketed it. That's what they did.
I wouldn't say this is a laugh-filled lark.
No. So Chevy Chase, Demi Moore, and the two Brazilian characters, Ronaldo and Fausto, are brought up to dinner. Which this is. I feel like if you know anything about this movie, you know about this scene. You've seen memes of this scene or gifs of it.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous. So yeah. Firstly, he offers them Hawaiian Punch, which is a beverage I haven't thought about in 12 years. So it's nice to see it.
And once again, great little detail. He's got the what would you call it? Like an oil spigot.
Yeah,
that's retrofitted into a Hawaiian Punch.
Yeah.
Just so many little details like that. Maybe like anything they use, you can tell has been engineered by Valkenheiser. It's cool. Like it gives it another dimension to think about. Like this guy has been spending his decades just building these weird contraptions.
I also like the ants in a log. I think that's just a great weird touch. And
I've never gotten. I can't eat that.
I hate them.
It's so gross to me. And it looks. They got like the giant stalks of Stellar. It just looks awful.
And Demi Moore does like so well. She picks it up and like on the plate and like, and then we're introduced to the judge's granddaughter. I guess this is Dennis's sister.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, they're twins.
Right, because the lady cop is his cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Valerie Bromfield. She's also in this. She plays, I think, Perda, her name is. She's the other cop.
Yeah, I looked into her a little bit. I didn't realize she's
a big Second City.
Yeah, and
she just missed like that whole group by a little bit.
But her and Aykroyd had a
Yeah.
They were like a duo, almost like a Nichols and May kind of thing.
Yeah, they were. She was one of those people that really came up in that group. Just she might have been on SNL as like a featured player, but like she just never made it in the same way they did.
She was writing for stuff too.
Yeah,
but she was good. I liked her.
She plays the other cop. So yeah, at dinner we're introduced to Aldona, who is John Candy in drag. She's the mute granddaughter of the judge, and instantly takes a shine to Chevy Chase's Chris.
Which I always love how Chevy Chase, he's basically always like the sex symbol in his movies.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I don't know, I'm not attracted to men necessarily, so I don't really get it. Cause it's just such a drip to me. But it's one of those nice little what's the word? Time capsule things from like the 80s and 90s that like, yeah, he was a real ladies man. Like it's Chevy Chase, and you asked me before the show, he's like, is he wearing a rug?
I think he is.
I don't know. I don't know when he went. He's like kind of balding, right?
Yeah, he was always kind of balding, but then like he hit a point in like the late or like mid 80s where he had this hair. It was like, I'm kind of graying a little bit, but like the top, dude, I don't know.
Yeah, he's got the
and
touch of gray.
If you see him now, like he has no hair on his head.
He doesn't have like the horseshoe thing or anything?
He has the horseshoe.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know. I don't know if like he hit a certain level of baldness and then just threw a rug on. Yeah, I mean, have you ever seen Spies Like Us?
No.
Yeah, so that works. Like it's earlier in their career, and they kind of play like the Bob Hope and Bing Crosby-esque. Chevy Chase's character in that is the ladies' man, and Dan Aykroyd's kind of like the nerdy.
Right.
And it works a lot better there because that was many years before. So this, yeah, I just think it's fine. I think John Candy is so funny the way he looks at Chris when like she's like, oh, the judge is like, oh, she'll make a hell of a wife. You'll never have car trouble. And she just kind of looks at him and like sighs, and it's John Candy's doing so good in this movie.
Once again, I'd watch it for Candy and Aykroyd.
Yeah,
it's so worth it.
They're having fun.
Yeah, actually you could tell Dan Aykroyd's having a ball.
He's having a lot of fun,
and it comes across. That's why I'm like so surprised. I'm like, why so much vitriol when it comes from critics? And like you have to sit like the answer is easy. Critics don't care about movies. Yeah. They care about themselves. They need the paycheck. They have to write the movie. And the more vitriol you have, the more people will read, the more engagement. Once again, this is in the 90s they're doing this.
Yeah.
So always take critics with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and, it's like you said, it's so much went into this movie that, a lot of movies today don't have that same level of, love and fun that went into it. And it's obvious that, poor Dan Aykroyd never directed again, but there might have been a career there that we might have gotten some good things.
He's still kicking.
Yeah,
you never know.
He's still hawking vodka and doing his thing. So, yeah. In this scene, Aldona brings out what we've now confirmed are probably human hot dogs. They look gross. They're about like 12 inches long and they're gray.
Gray, yeah.
And they're like wet. And then the judge hits a button and a train rises from the center of the table that carries all the condiments and the pickles, and there's a little train car of ketchup. And another thing where apparently a crew member had this idea and like they spent $25,000 because like they had to build it. He was like, we have to put this in the movie. And it's great. The table opens up, it slides up.
And it's just little things like as it starts and stops, like it's playing Wabash Cannonball, and like the train stops, the song winds down.
So,
train
like,
starts, it winds up.
Weird, funny.
It's flipping gherkins at Fausto.
That's where he draws the line when the gherkin hits him. And then there's this.
Oh, the pickle thrown at me.
Yeah, there's the infamous Dan Aykroyd penis nose scene, which he's eating this hot dog in a way that it's so grotesque. He's got ketchup and mayo on it. It's dripping down his hand, and he's like shoveling this hot dog into his mouth. And at one point, he looks at Chevy Chase, and Chevy Chase blinks, opens his eyes back up, and there's a clear penis on Dan Aykroyd's on the judge's nose.
Which I saw you put that picture up, and I was worried. I was like, I hope they don't do this the whole movie. It actually works that one scene, because if it was the whole movie, it'd be a little too distracting. Yeah. But it's very fun. It's very good.
I always wondered if it was like he got in the makeup, Dan Aykroyd, and was like, oh, it kind of looks like a penis. Let's make another one.
100% what happened. There's no way that didn't happen.
We'll do a quick scene where it looks like, because it's 3 seconds long. Honestly, I always missed it as a kid.
Yeah.
It wasn't until years later that people brought my attention to that scene.
And you can even see it in Dan Aykroyd's eyes. Yeah. Like he's like, I got a cock on my face.
Yeah, the look he gives at Chevy Chase, the smile and like nod, it's so great.
It really is.
And then that look, Chevy Chase, the shake of the head, the double take. Yeah, so Ryan mentioned that a gherkin hits Fausto, at which point he decides to escape. So him and his sister jump out the window.
I love that too. They just jump out the window.
They just leave the scene.
They just jump out the window. Like there's no.
No, that's it. So yeah, Diane and Chris are taken to a bedroom. They're kept at the mansion, and Dennis, as we said earlier, helps Rinalda and Fausto escape. And that's kind of the last we see of them. We get a couple more scenes, I think, with Dennis. Is he the one? There's like a Lady John Candy painting, and like eyes come through it and watch. Is that supposed to be Dennis? Because he does. Someone helps them escape. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Was he lingering around? Is that what was going on?
Yeah, because like he's pushing the buttons that leads him into the attic and then leads him to the slide.
Oh,
so he's like trying to help them escape.
He was hanging around.
Yeah, and then there's a scene where he's packing up his stuff. He's like putting his military picture in his suitcase.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
There's more there.
You do see a little of him. When they get to the bedroom, that's where it does kind of lose a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it gets funhousey. Where it's like,
okay, they go down a slide.
Yeah, what's
and then,
going on here? And like the wall, remember like the wall goes in, but that does lead them up to the attic.
It leads them up to the attic where they find tons and dozens of old disappearing persons articles pinned with their IDs and their papers. And that's a moment where you're like, ooh, like it's kind of creepy.
But you get the nice reveal is you get to find out what happened to Jimmy Hoffa.
Yes, you don't need to watch The Irishman.
Yeah,
you can watch Nothing But Trouble.
He
save
wrote
yourself
Mr. Bone Stripper. He didn't get shot in the head by a digitally altered Robert De Niro.
Nope, that he got in the Bone Stripper by J.P. Falkenheiser.
God, is what The Irishman, man? I don't want to get on a tangent about The Irishman, but Pacino was excellent in that.
Just picture his character in this universe.
Yeah,
him dealing with the judge. That'd be great.
That would be good.
There is a great scene though where like Chevy Chase is behind the walls of the judge's bedroom and watches him take off his wig and his nose and upper lip and his leg. He's like taking all his body apart to get into bed, and then the two of them kind of have a little fight in the room where he steps in
the bedpan. That is gross. Yeah, that's good. That was
it's pretty gross. Yeah, so they fight a little bit. Demi Moore escapes onto the grounds where she is introduced to Bobo and Little Devil.
This is where I felt bad for Dan Aykroyd.
Why? Because he's playing one of them?
Because no one else would. So it's like, all right, you got to direct a movie your first time. You're playing one of the main characters in the movie who's under tons of makeup. Probably took hours a day to do that.
Yeah.
Now you also got to play this other character, which the makeup was probably even worse.
Yeah,
it was full body.
If you've never seen this movie, they're not just giant babies. That's what they're modeled after.
Yeah,
but they're huge, sweaty twins. They're like kind of like an evil Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
Yes,
in diapers, obese, but like they're not shaped like humans. It's very, very weird.
There's absolutely no way that was comfortable to wear.
Of course not.
So this guy's got to get into that.
Yeah.
Get into the Valkenheiser costume. Direct Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably losing his mind.
Yeah.
That's where I felt bad for him. Like, he couldn't get anyone to play this other guy. That sucks. But once again, I don't know. They're super weird and gross, and it's interesting.
Yeah, this movie always throws things at you like that. When it's like these two just come out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
And they talk like babies. The names are weird. Dan Aykroyd plays Bobo, I think. I think he's Bobo.
I think so.
But they kind of talk like they're very like baby talk, and then Demi Moore's like baby talking with them. It's very strange.
I liked her with them playing cards.
Again, she's having fun. I hate to admit it.
Yeah, she seems
the
like
only one who's not is Chevy Chase.
Once again, is that him? I'm going to play the character like this.
No, he just was miserable.
You think so?
Of course.
Yeah.
That's I like Chevy Chase. I need to say that even in my Chevy Chase show video I did. I talked about how
that's my favorite.
But people love to hate him.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. That's another thing where I hate critics. Everyone loves to pile on.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, sure, it's fun to pile on people, but they're people.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't hate Chevy Chase like everyone else.
No, I don't either.
I'll shit talk him, but
I've also never worked with him, so I understand that.
Exactly. I'll never meet the man, more than likely so.
But I know he has that reputation. And in this, I just think he was getting that point in his career where he was like, I'm better than this. I should be doing the stuff I was doing 10 years ago. And he's just taking it out.
And he probably was looking around at a lot of this shit like, what am I doing here?
What am I doing here? And yeah, I think he just wasn't happy because of that. And at this point in the movie, the digital underground.
Oh my God. This is why the movie should have, digital underground gets pulled over. who, for you guys don't know about Digital Underground, they were kind of a rap collective in the early 90s. They started off almost like an NWA, like more black militancy type thing. But the main guy, Humpty Hump, who wears the
fur,
the Groucho Marx nose, he was like, let's kind of take this maybe in like a funner direction, like more lighthearted. So they were kind of like a goofy, like, rap collective. They had members coming in and out. I think G-Shock was like his actual, rap name, but he was Humpty Hump for all intents and purposes because their biggest hit was Do the Humpty.
Yeah.
So they get pulled over, and this is so legendary. It is the first film performance of Tupac.
Yeah.
Because Tupac was in the group. He started out as like a hype man for them, like get on stage and like do little one-liners, like get the crowd all fired up. And Tupac, who went on, in my opinion, another one, could have been he was a good actor.
Yeah.
But could have had an amazingly good acting career.
Sure.
I mean, forget his music's fine, but he was a really good actor. Go watch Juice.
Yeah.
He's Bishop. He's awesome. And
yeah.
I think he was Bishop. Was he Q? I can't remember. I think he was Bishop. You ever see Juice?
I have not.
Really good.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was in like Gridlocked with Tim Roth.
That's
and,
right.
Like, all sorts. He was a good actor.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have much to do in this, but it's the first.
It's a first appearance.
First appearance. And Digital Underground, like I said, they're goofy. You got Humpty Hump with the stupid nose, and
they get pulled over.
They fit in perfectly.
The judge asked them to, the Valerie Bromfield's character, the other cop. She's like, "Oh, we got a bunch of instruments with them." So he's like, "Oh, bring them in," and like he makes them play, and they play same song, which is very catchy.
Oh yeah.
And then it's essentially the movie breaks for a music video, but then. The judge joins in.
Yeah.
It's great. He gets a little solo on his organ.
Which it looks like Dan Aykroyd
He's playing.
Is he?
He's playing.
So one of the other cool things is I would suggest going and watching the video for Same Song.
Okay.
Maybe I'll throw it up on my Twitter or something. I really should. I said I was going to do that. Like do
you
supplemental.
Need to start doing that,
I will start doing that. But it's a cool video because in the early 90s, what they were doing with a lot of music videos that were in movies was it was a good vehicle to show clips from the movie.
Right.
I remember this a lot.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is the video itself is really interesting because you got Dan Aykroyd's in the video, and like the whole thing is like all around the world, it's the same song. So they're playing different like characters from all around the world.
Okay.
Like they're African kings.
Okay.
They're Hasidic Jews at one point. They're Asian. They're Indian. And Dan Aykroyd is like he's dressing like them and all the and he's like winking at the camera. And there's amazingly. No one, it's like legendary, and no one ever talks about this. There's a shot of Dr. Dre in the video, Eazy-E, and Dan Aykroyd, who's dressed like an NWA member, and he's like mugging for the camera.
Oh, that's great.
It's great. I'll put the video up. It's a good video.
I've never even seen that.
It's a great song, and it's really cool because like you can tell Tupac outshines everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The second he starts rapping, you're like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Like, and they bring him in like an African king on like, they're carrying him in. It's fucking awesome. But
it's a fun scene, and Dan Aykroyd's having a blast, and the extras are having a blast. It looks like, and Chevy Chase is literally sitting there miserable during the scene.
Well, he's chained up.
I know, but it's just kind of like, I get it, whatever.
Well, the thing is, I mean, do you expect Chevy Chase he's like, I gotta get the hell. He should be angry. Like he should be like,
I don't know.
Get me out of here. Why am I sitting through this? Real quick thing too with the keyboard.
Yeah.
Apparently, this was, if not the first rap song, it was one of the first that used live instrumentalization.
Wow.
So like the keyboard like is being played.
Yeah.
It's not like a loop,
it's
or,
not
anything.
Like a loop or anything. Wow.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Little tidbit.
And then they also play the Here Comes the Bride
which is also on the soundtrack.
So Chevy Chase and Lady John Candy are getting married that he finds out, and he's complaining to the judge that he won't be able to satisfy his granddaughter.
Yes.
And the judge says, what is the exact quote? Because we both...
Oh, you can slip on a pud collar.
Yeah, he tells him to just put on a pud collar.
Pud collar.
And I texted Ryan as I was watching this movie last night, and I said, what is a pud collar? Because any search of it led me back to this movie. It wasn't its own thing. On Urban Dictionary, they linked it to being what we thought it was, which was
it's a cock ring.
A cock ring.
It has to be.
What a fun, weird thing to say.
What, a cock ring? I wasn't sure. I thought it was supposed to make you last longer. I guess but I think it gets you can keep an erection longer.
I don't know.
It cuts off the blood flow or something. I've never.
Whatever the joke is, the fact that 25 years, however long it's been layered. We had to go like research it. It's just what a brilliant like.
It's really funny too because like Valkenheiser's like what? He's ancient at this point, right?
Yeah.
And he knows what a cock ring is, and he's calling it a pud collar. It's totally
the way he delivers it. That great. It's just.
I had to pause the movie and write that down, and then literally 5 minutes after I'd finished the movie, I get a text from Joe as, "What the hell is a pud collar?"
Yeah.
Obviously I bust out laughing, but
I also like the scene right before the wedding where Aldona is trying on underwear and they're playing Big Girls.
That was funny.
Yeah,
that was good. It's fun to watch John Candy.
Yeah,
he's just really good.
And then I forget which member of the Digital Underground though has a word. Chevy Chase tries to escape with them, and the one says like, relax, man. I was worried at my first wedding too."
As they're walking out, yeah, it's good. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
But at that point, he has burned his bridges, and Aldona doesn't want anything to do with him. But they manage to escape, him and Demi Moore, by some pyrotechnics, and he blows up the oil barrel and all that stuff.
Right. Because eventually they get, they had already caught.
They had already caught. They were going to kill her, though.
To flush out Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he escapes the bone stripper because it runs out of, there's like a belt issue with the bone stripper.
Yeah.
And him and Demi Moore end up escaping on a train. They jump on a train. It reminds me of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre where she's like driving away in the truck. And they go to the police station to report this where Brian Doyle Murray is.
Which was so funny because like I literally, you see his name in the credits.
He's in the opening credits, yeah.
And I'm like, is he the other, is he Lil Devil?
Oh,
is he Bobo? I wasn't
that.
quite sure, but they're talking. And I'm like, there's no way Brian Doyle Murray.
Yeah, I'm Little Devil.
There's no way he can pull off that voice. Because his voice is so...
It's so distinct.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way. And then all of a sudden he's there. I'm like, oh, okay.
He's there.
It's like
and
2 lines.
They said, all right, well, we're going to go storm this place. You guys got to come with us, though. And they go storm the mansion, and it turns out that they're all in.
That gave me... I should have saw it coming.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit! Like it kind of gave me a
judge.
Little chill up my spine when they all do it.
They all know.
Because you think to yourself, like, surely they're bringing in like platoons of people almost.
Yeah.
They can't be all in on it. And like the camera switches, and it's literally all of them.
It's like
hi,
100
Judge!
people. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because you're fucked.
Yeah.
Like if you're
so they're all in on it. They actually appreciate what he does.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. He gets rid of crime and no
Get
questions
rid of,
asked.
Nazi scientists, Jimmy Hoffa, Daniel Baldwin.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. It's like he's getting rid of criminals too. Like they don't really, but like you're saying, yeah, there
bankers. Who wouldn't want throw a banker and a bone stripper? I don't give a shit. And if I was Chevy, this is also the thing. This is one thing that bothered me. I would have. He gives up too quick. Oh no, Judge, I'm a financial publisher. You mean banker?
Yeah, he says it about
like,
20 more times.
I would just lie, like I'm a writer. Like, just lie. Like, that kind of annoyed me. But once again, suspension of disbelief. Blah, blah, blah.
So then the underground fire actually finally erupts, causing the mansion to collapse, and everyone runs away. And Chris and Diane escape yet again. And this time, they're watching TV about what has happened. And we see the judge out without his wig, who proclaims that he'll be all right because they're moving in with his son-in-law in Manhattan. And
does the cocknose reappear?
I think the cocknose is in that scene.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Because they get real close to him. And
what a great...
come on. They didn't overuse it. If they overused that, it would have been bad. But it's funny when it appears.
It's the last shot of the movie. We'll put the dick nose back on me. Let's go, boys. And Chevy Chase, very Looney Tunes, runs out and there's a hole in the wall.
Which apparently everyone making the movie wasn't happy with that.
What are you going to do at that point?
They couldn't figure out how to end it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it fit in with the tone of the film.
But then we also get like another ending where it's 2 Brazilians, Fausto and Ronaldo. They're in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And Dennis, John Candy, is with them. Turns out he's married to Rinalda, and he's their chief security advisor, and he's in a tuxedo. And he's just... Honestly, I was happy because I'm like,
it's a happy ending for him, for sure.
I don't know. I don't think they shot that in Brazil, but it's like, oh, look, John Candy got to put tux on. He's having a glass of wine or whatever. He's looking happy.
Yeah.
And the one genuine character in the movie gets like a good ending.
He deserved it.
But I will say this. I do think there was more scenes with them that were cut.
Had to have been.
Yeah. There was a subplot with the 3 of them escaping.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it was probably cut. I did read that there was obviously bad test screening that required Dan Aykroyd to cut all of the darker stuff out.
Which is once again, such a bummer. But that's the fine line you walk when you're mixing genres.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe that's what really threw people off. Maybe it's not scary enough and it's not funny enough, so it's nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas like I guess
nothing but trouble. Sorry, go on.
I stopped looking at the movie as a comedy, or I didn't even start looking at the movie as a comedy.
Yeah.
I just was watching it. I wanted to see what would happen next. Like I was engaged the whole time.
I like thinking about now, like, no, I don't think it's a comedy in the moment, but like sitting here talking about it and like that, like talking about the genesis of Dan Aykroyd having a penis on his nose, like there's moments like that where you're like, it's kind of a brilliant. I wouldn't say brilliant, maybe, but there are some like
no, the design is brilliant in this movie.
And it will plant some seeds in your head while you'll be thinking about this movie. We talked about this with Popeye. I think we were like, you didn't enjoy it, but you said you'll be thinking about it. Like,
yeah,
this is a movie that it will always stay with me. Some visual, the pool with all the squeaky toys, like I mean, so much of it, and I think that's Dan Aykroyd, championing the crew there and really allowing them to do whatever the hell they want to do.
I mean, the Brazilianaires. They were writing their own dialogue.
Yeah.
He used to go for it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He kind of,
God,
when we blame,
like
Dan Aykroyd is blamed for the failure of this because he was the director, he was letting them direct themselves. So that was his failure.
Yeah.
But if you're going to blame him for their individual performances, they were, like I said, they were directing themselves. And it works, I don't know. I think that, it's one of those movies. I would love to see a special edition of this. I think I would love to see, and I've heard Dan Aykroyd talk about it in years since where he says he just thinks it was a little bit ahead of its time. And it might have been the case.
Well, it's definitely one of those things where it comes down to like, who was it for?
Mm-hmm.
And so is it for the Ghostbusters crowd? Like it was one of those movies that probably wasn't going to please anyone.
Yeah. But
now, X number of years later,
right.
I think it was completely unfairly maligned.
Yeah.
Totally deserves another look.
Yeah. I agree.
It's not even remotely as bad as people say it is.
No.
Not even close.
No. I mean, you have a group of people. I mean, you have Demi Moore, who's essentially kind of just beginning her career for them. I mean, she was doing things before that. But like she was just becoming a really big star up around this point. And, everyone else was kind of, this was the end for them. Like it was, the last hurrah for a lot of these guys in this movie.
A little bit.
Yeah. So it's a weird mix of things, but I think it works. Like you said, I think they either should have gone full out dark or, I would like to see a full cut of this movie. I would like to see what's missing. I would like to see those darker elements. I'm sure it exists, and it's called Valkenvania, and it's probably amazing. And I don't know. I hope that one day. I mean, we talk now as we're doing more streaming stuff, and you're seeing some of these directors getting chances to. And this is the far gone example that this will happen. But I'm saying you're seeing this happen where directors are getting to restore their versions of films.
Oh, sure. I mean, you're seeing shit on like Netflix is getting sequels and stuff.
Yeah,
You're like,
of course.
Really? Like, which I'm not necessarily against, but it's just.
And you had stuff like, the Donner cut of Superman 2. Like, it's been going on. If the director is passionate enough, it ends up happening. And this is one that I really would like to see what else is out there on it. And I hope, someday we do.
Yeah.
So anything you want to add on Nothing But Trouble that we didn't get to say?
Just that, like, it is. Once again, these things get reputations, and you can only really trust yourself when it comes to whether you'll like something or not.
Sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I read not as much as I used to, but I love researching movies. I almost like reading about movies more than I like watching movies sometimes. But you'll get someone else's perspective on something.
Yeah.
And until you watch it, you won't know.
Yeah.
So seriously, I mean, a lot of these movies, it seems like people think I'm like cynical or I'm shitting on them, or I think they're all worth watching.
Yeah,
the ones
definitely.
we've done so far. And I think, honestly, I can't imagine us doing a movie where I'd say it's not, even if it's a lot of times a total piece of shit is worth watching.
Yeah.
And it's funny, too, just to get back on critics. One of them was saying, I thought it was a good point. They were saying that you're not super familiar with John Waters, right?
Not that familiar.
It's almost a John Waters type movie.
That.
Because you got John Candy in the Divine role.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I could have seen, this is like later in his career, John Waters.
Okay.
He would have made this movie.
Yeah.
And in that lens, I'm like, fuck, it's Dan Aykroyd doing a John Waters movie. I'm like,
yeah,
I kind of love it. it's it gets a lot right.
Yeah.
Editing will screw things up, and like you said, there was definitely scenes that weren't there. I could have used more Dennis and all that, but I don't know, man. I enjoyed it. I was really surprised. I was like, wow, I like that.
Yeah, check it out. It's I think it's still easy to find. It's a really interesting movie, and I think it'll make you love Dan Aykroyd more. And it's he gets a lot of hate, I think, for some of the sequels he's done the movies, but honestly, like, he's an interesting guy. Watch him in any interview. Like,
after this movie, I was like, I like Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Like, I hadn't thought about him in a while, but I was just like, damn, like, he tries. I appreciate people that try.
Yeah.
Even if they fail. It's better than middle of the road.
Anything he comes in that same category from John Candy, where it's like anything they're in, they are 100% in. And with Dan Aykroyd, heck, even like those later Adam Sandler movies, like anything I've seen him in, he's never phoning it in.
No. And he actually is a really good actor. I mean, I just recently watched Grosse Pointe Blank for the first time. He's like badass in that movie, dude. He's awesome in that movie. Like, I love Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, like, he's great.
Yeah.
He has range. And I think we all owe Dan Aykroyd Watch Nothing But Trouble.
Watch Nothing But Trouble.
Send him an email and say, Dan, I really liked it.
Buy a bottle of Crystal Head vodka.
Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull vodka, and mix it with some Hawaiian Punch.
Joe has literally 2 of them behind him right now, signed by Mr. Aykroyd.
I do like my Dan Aykroyd. And give a toast to Dan. And that wraps up with Nothing But Trouble. Next week, we're going to be discussing another divisive film, the Coen brothers. Maybe their worst film. It's argued to be their worst film, The Lady Killers, which I know you and I have.
People will make that case, and we will discuss whether we think they are right or wrong.
We're going to check out 2004, I'm going to say, The Lady Killers.
Sounds about right.
Starring Tom Hanks.
And it's a remake, so we'll talk about the original and the new one, and maybe we'll get into the Coen brothers oeuvre a little bit.
And also, we are working on getting this like as a set schedule, so bear with us on that.
Yeah, things are a little up in the air right now, obviously, with the world falling apart.
Starting a podcast during a pandemic might have not been the best, but we're here, we're committed, it's going to be weekly. We just haven't ironed out exactly what day of the week.
We're trying to find a dedicated recording spot and just. Correct. But yeah, we're going to get on a more solid schedule, and we're going to make a big push in the next couple of weeks to get some Patreon content up.
Yes.
Because we appreciate you guys doing that. And
Nothing But Patreon.
Yeah.
That's going to be our series. All right, we will see you next time.
All right, guys.
Almost Cult Classics.
Thanks for listening.